I'm uploading a video about the public dialog server with the URL to the presentation right as we speak. I want to make a couple things clear to people. One is this important separation between this PDS or public dialog server project as a tier 1 thing, providing a storage place that can stream that stored media and a database of videos and reply structures that other tier 2 sites can use, right? Like my Fi Club site, which I already have that uses YouTube. I'll add the PDS interface to that. And I've talked a lot about my structured conversation, and I've described how I'd like to have debates, and people that could win debates all get to go and have a conference where they discuss these things, and all these kinds of ideas. But let me tell you what I really am creating it for. A lot of that combat is because people like to do that, and so we'll let them. But really, there's a collaborative model of structured conversation I want to do. And what it is the group of people, I mentioned this in the other video, I just want to go into it a little more. A group of people decides they'll make a statement. Gary and I say, we're going to make a statement about IRV, what we think people should do. We think third party we've talked about enough, I could guess at where we might overlap. We think third party should be more into realizing they have to push IRV before anything else, really. But then there's a lot of other things, and Gary has ideas about geographic representation, which I also have, but I might not want to put in a statement about IRV. So we'd argue about that, and there'd be that contest of ideas, but it would be all over editing as the quote-unquote debate goes on. We're editing this collaborative statement, something we can agree, and we both end up signing it at the end if it succeeds. And if you have a bigger group, there might be ways for people to vote on, okay, well, 4 out of 5 of us are agreeing, we're going to make a statement out of 4, and maybe if you have 2/3 of the original participants signing on, that's considered okay, or everybody was there, can either be pro or con. You do it like, there'd be ways to structure this producing of a common statement. And then we're giving voice, we're recording what we said in common, and we're giving a voice. So when we're talking on political things and social things that have to do with the public policy, then our statements will at least have been recorded, and I think have a chance of being more coherent and more useful. And I can imagine a site, if there were hundreds of thousands of people doing this, and 50, 60 people trying to make a common statement, and 50,000 people watching them do it, that can also sign on or not at the end, then you could have a kind of petition that's way better than people just walking by signing a thing that sounds good because some guy described it in 2 seconds. This will be the whole thinking process leading to that statement would be recorded and ready for perusal, and indexed and annotated so you could get right to the highlights if that was your goal, to study not the conversation because we enjoy taking part in that, but also because of this product. And you go, hey, that's a good statement. Where did it come from? People that want to dive in and find that out will be able to do that at this, if my theories work at this other site. So I just wanted to describe that. All right, cheers. All right, the other thing is some entertainment is in the public dialogue, and like buskers, street performers, where you're dialoguing and it's a high performer to viewer ratio compared to television or Hollywood movies. And so there is a way to structure that as well, and of course there's a bit of an economic thing. If somebody goes out and does political comedy and they basically going to want to pass the hat and make $50 or $100 per show, and it could get on a bigger scale because of the way the internet works, but I still model it on this. If it's a part of the public dialogue, then it says something about the scale and the interactivity of the show. It's not a stadium show, it's more like a street performance. And there has to be an interaction. And I think, a way to put money in the hat, that brings in an element that you might use in other kinds of structured conversation as well, which is that people that are just viewers, they can participate by supporting the entertainer. Another thing is for these conflict combatant type organizations, I just think what you need is to have a way of voting who won, but you have to do it by demographics. So every individual is their own demographic, votes on how people won, and then they join together like all the young earth creationists will have voted and use voting mathematics to figure out, okay, what does that group, who do they say is the winners? And again, if any of these groups wanted to put resources behind their votes, then they could sponsor the winner of their vote to go to this conference where people get to argue, for a long weekend or something, and we video blog the proceeds. I would love to do something like that. And then again, this final thing though is people trying to craft a statement through public conversation leading to a common statement. That is the most powerful of all, because lots of political organizations could maybe use a tool like that to just take their vision they already have and make it better enunciated, robustified in this public dialogue process, and just clarify what their position is, and maybe discover something about the position they want to take that they didn't know, because I think it's a process that makes someone's positions more conscious.